Hey, so ever since Mindhunter Season 1 came out, I've been obsessed with the show. It's amazing. And I've been waiting almost 2 goddamn years to see a second season. And the second season finally came out. And now I'm going to talk about it because I watched it all. So let's talk about it.
How do we catch a fantasy head?
If it's any good, you can't.
Mindhunter is a crime drama television series created by Joe Penhall, and season 2 was specifically written by John Douglas, Mark Olshaker, Courtney Miles, Joshua Donen, and Doug Jung. Its directors include Andrew Dominic, Carl Franklin, and David Fincher, and it stars Jonathan Groff, Holt McCallany, and Anna Torv, among a bunch of other people. Mindhunter is a show that is a character study about character studies. It follows these FBI agents in the late 70s who formed a specific unit to interview and analyze serial killers and come to understand them and learn from them and learn how they can spot the behaviors and maybe prevent future serial killings. Now, season 2 specifically definitely has more of a direct plot, kind of. It's less of a character study and more focusing on these FBI agents using what they've learned from interviewing these serial killers to try to find a serial killer killing children in Atlanta. Of course, it's way more difficult than they anticipate because interviewing somebody and, finding out how they work is not necessarily the same as finding somebody who fits that category in Atlanta, because you can't just arrest somebody because they fit into a category. You can't arrest them for their character. You have to have hard evidence, and it proves increasingly difficult for them throughout the duration of the show. The acting in this show is amazing. Everybody's phenomenal. I don't think I have anything bad to say about anybody in the show because everybody is so goddamn good. Like, literally, I don't have anything else to say. Everyone's really good in this show. The direction and the cinematography isn't too stylized or flashy. However, it does suit the tone of the show, and it doesn't need to be visually interesting because the story itself is the interesting part. And so I think the directing is sort of just, it suits the story being told. And I think that's the best I think I can say for it. The writing is also really great. There's no real bad dialogue at all, and in fact the show is continually gripping. It's just, you can't take your eyes off it. I binged the entire season in one night. I watched the whole thing front to back nonstop, and I couldn't stop. How could you put down a show like this? You can't put down a show like this. You can't just turn off and be like, I'll watch some tomorrow. No, I have to finish it. I have to know what happens next because the writing and everything about the show is just so damn good. I will say that I don't think the second season is as strong as season 1. I felt that in season 1, the characters going and interviewing these serial killers and learning more about them and having these serial killers be the focal point of these episodes, but then having the episodes turn inwards and analyze the FBI agents for the audience, I thought that was way more intriguing than them actively trying to use what they've learned to solve a series of murders. I think the interviewing serial killers part is far more interesting than them, playing cat and mouse with a serial killer in Atlanta. That's not to say that I think this season's bad. I actually really love this season. It's really good. I just don't think that it lives up to the same standards set by the first season. I think that it definitely falters in some areas, but it doesn't ruin the show at all. I think it's still a very, 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 very good show. There was one thing that kind of blew my mind, and I'm not sure if it has something to do with the editing or if this was written into the show specifically, but there was a very quick cut that happened in one of the very earlier episodes. It might have been episode 1 or episode 2, where there was a very, very quick cut where you wonder for a second, like, wait, what was that? Well, what was that look for? Why did that person make that face for that split second? But the thing is, it's so small and so subtle that you forget about it in like a second later anyway, because the show's continuing. You see this quick little shot, and you're like, what the hell was that? But you stop thinking about it because the show continues. And it's not until an episode or 2 later where some information comes out and a plot thread happens between the character Bill Tench, played by Holt McCallany, and his son, who has witnessed the death of a toddler, and something clicks and you put these pieces together in your head and you say, oh fuck, and you remember that I remembered that little tiny edit that happened like an episode earlier, and I was wondering what the hell that was, and I had forgotten about it completely until I had made the connection later on in the next episode when they give this little tidbit of information. And it's this slight foreshadowing, and I'm not sure if it has something to do with the editing or if it was or if it was written into the show initially, but it was so well done. It blew my mind. I was just like, oh, that's what that was. And the show doesn't call attention to it. A lesser show would have dwelled on that little tiny edit for a whole scene, would have made a whole big thing about it, and then the whole like next episode you were gonna be able to call it and be like, oh, it's because of that. That's why. And a lesser show would have did that. Like, I was blown away. I was genuinely surprised. Like, it was awesome. The show's awesome. This show's fucking awesome. Now, that's not to say I don't have issues with this season. Like I said, I don't think it is as strong as season 1. However, it really comes down to like just certain things that they choose to focus and not focus on. For example, in the very beginning of the season, and specifically at the end of the last season, the first season, I'm not going to give away any sort of spoilers, but one of the main characters suffers a panic attack. And in the beginning of this season, they make a note of it, and they're like, hey, you had a panic attack, and it could happen again. Be very careful of this new thing. And it happens once in the season, and then it just kind of goes away, and they never bring it up again, and it never comes up again, and it just goes away. Like, it feels like they put so much importance on this thing. Like, it was a big thing. I mean, it was effectively the season finale of the first season, and it opens right after. The season 2 opens right after that, and they make a note of it. They're like, hey, like, this is an issue. You have to stay on top of it. And the whole time they're like, hey, keep an eye on this guy. He could have another panic attack, and that could be bad for this entire unit, basically. And it just goes away. It's just gone. Like, you couldn't. You like, I don't understand why even make a note of it? Why even put it in the show if you're not going to focus on it at all? It didn't add anything. If anything, it was just distracting. I was just wondering, like, when's the next panic attack going to happen? And it just doesn't. And it just goes away. It's like the show forgot it was even a part of the show. There's also a romantic relationship that blooms between one of the characters and a bartender, and it doesn't really fit the show or has anything really to do with the series at all. It just sort of feels like a relationship shoved in with drama for the sake of drama. You know, like, it didn't really, it just felt like a different show. Like, not to say that anything about it was bad or that I disagreed with it in any way or that, like, I was offended by it because it's a lesbian relationship, but it just felt out of place and it felt unnecessary. Like they'll cut away from this investigation to focus on these two characters, you know, that where the story isn't very strong, and then it just sort of ends, and then it actually just goes away, and you're like, well, why did we even waste time focusing on these characters? It just doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, none of it comes into play, and it just feels thrown in for the sake of it. Like, just because, oh, we need filler, let's just throw in this relationship that isn't interesting and doesn't really go anywhere. So why is it in the show? You know, at no point does this character's work interfere with this relationship. It just exists. It's just like, well, whatever. I just felt like it just didn't need to be there. The show made a habit of advertising the big thing of like, oh, they're going to interview Charles Manson this season. And let me just say right up front, don't expect Charles Manson to be a focal point of this season, because I'll say, like, I saw the trailers, I saw the little teasers for this thing going forward before it came out, and they made a big deal about, we get you Manson, and then suddenly it's like, oh shit, Charles Manson's in this season, I can't wait. Look, I'm gonna keep it real with you right now. Charles Manson is only in one fucking episode. He's on screen for 5 minutes. It's awesome. The actor doing the part is amazing. He sells it so fucking good. Like, I would be remiss to think that Did I use that word right? I don't know if I used that word right, but I'm gonna keep going anyway. I would be mistaken if I thought this was maybe the real Charles Manson. Like, that's how good this actor is. Like it's awesome. It's so good. But I just want to say, like, it's not the focal point of the whole show. It's one scene in one episode, and it's really good. It's really good. And it's just fascinating. There's not a whole lot of the scenes where they interview the serial killers in this season a whole lot. They're there, but they're very sparse, and they're not nearly as interesting as they were in the first season at all. Because that's no longer the main focal point of the show anymore. It's not interviewing these characters. It's using what the first season taught us to be proactive in Atlanta, but they still try to do the interview thing, but it's not nearly as interesting or successfully done as the first season. However, the big highlight is when they interview Manson, and I thought it was super compelling and just interesting and captivating as hell. I mean, it's just a super fascinating character, that guy. I mean, like, and this show does a hell of a job capturing that guy, like, you know, his character, his personality, like the intent of him, you know, his presence. Like, it's so well done. I recommend, though, when that episode ends, the episode that has Charles Manson in the show, when that episode ends, don't skip the credits. Don't go right to the next episode. I actually want you to watch the credits. I recommend playing the credits in full and turn on the subtitles and listen to the song by Charles Manson that they play at the end of the episode. They play a little bit of it in the show during the episode, but you don't really get a chance to hear it. And I really recommend, after seeing that whole episode, really watching that end credit sequence, because, I mean, as someone who never heard any of Charles Manson's music, like, being able to hear it after seeing the character and talking to that crazy fucking person, and then hearing the song and reading the lyrics, going along with it, it's so fucking fascinating. It is awesome. It is awesome to see and hear, and it's so good. I really recommend listening to that song after you see the episode. Like, just stay for the credits for that episode, because it will intensify that whole episode. That it's just so goddamn good. Oh, this show is great. I mean, my issues with it are so small. I mean, it's still a wildly spectacular show. I waited 2 years for this second season to come out, and I'm not disappointed. I'm not. I mean, like I said, I don't think it's as good as season 1, nor do I think it lives up to the standards of season 1, but it's still really fucking good. It's still a great goddamn show. And I mean, it really had me on the edge of my seat watching it. I was enthralled. I was captivated. That's what this show does. It captivates you. I really recommend watching the show. If you have to watch season 1, if I had to rate season 1, I would give season 1 a 5 out of 5. I mean, granted, I haven't seen it in a year and a half, almost 2 years, because I don't normally go back and rewatch shows that I see. It's been a while since I've seen season 1, but I remember really, truly loving season 1, and I would give season 1 a 5 out of 5. And if I'm comparing this to season 1, I mean, obviously I have to. It's a continuation of the show. It is the next part. So, and I would give Mindhunter season 2 a 4 out of 5. Why do you even have Netflix if you're not watching Mindhunter? Watch Mindhunter. What are you watching, another cake show? What are you, dumb? Watch Mindhunter, you dumb bitch. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you like this video, please like this video. If you want to see more of my reviews, which I upload every Monday, you can hit the subscribe button. I also upload trailer reactions during the week. Every time there's a new trailer and I want to look at it, I'll do a reaction video and I'll upload it. So keep a lookout for those. You can find me on social media at The Shane Watson. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.